The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Kyle, I'm telling you, man, there's nothing like Canucks hockey being back on and cracking the beverage. And, usually I go to the fridge and get a nice cold IPA, maybe even a black cherry cider. But last night, I was sipping on a Valentino Martini, baby. Because, man, this guy was looking spicy for your Vancouver Canucks. And Kyle, dare I say, this guy might even have a chance to be special for your Vancouver Canucks.
Wow, special, man. Speaking of which, welcome to Locked On Canucks. My name's Kyle Bhawan. That right there is the second best dad in the world. Best stay-at-home dad, too, man. You live in the dream. Stay-at-home dad and a hockey reporter. That's as Canadian as it gets. Man, oh, man. Valentino Martini, Mancini, the topic of discussion today. And I don't know. Again, Trevor, you probably have more of the data in front of you, can make a legitimate prediction more so than me. I don't know if I can say he's going to be special, but does he have the potential for me to be like an elite number 5 defenseman? Hell yeah. I see the pieces there, maybe a legitimate top 4 piece, but all in all, Trevor, I think this is more legitimate. This is more concrete. This statement right here. The best problem the Vancouver Canucks have right now is that Valentino Martini, Mancini, Victorino III is a lot better than Tom Willander. Straight up. Like, this is a great problem to have, and it's nothing against Tom Willander. It is what it is, but I did not expect this 6-7 months ago when we made the trade for Valentino Martini, Victorino Mancini, but I'm just so impressed. Like, the fact that he still looks good in September of 2025, and knowing that's the truth outside of what he did last year for the Canucks and the Abbotsford Canucks, maybe some critics would be like, yo, that's momentum. That's him trying to impress on a new team. That's adrenaline. Boom, bam. But no, what it is this guy being a legitimate young defenseman. And, there were some New York Rangers pundits, fans who didn't want to let this guy go, even though a big part of the Canucks fan base didn't know who this guy was, right? Because when we traded Miller, we wanted Lafreniere, right? We wanted Braeden Schneider. And we got Victorino Mancini. Yo, dude, I was disappointed, but dude, I'm so happy this guy's part of this organization.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on, the chance that he has to be special. That takes. It seems like it's a bit spicy, perhaps, but look, he's not a perfect player right now. And I think, even when I was writing my article about bubble players on the rise, one reason I didn't have him on my list is because he still makes mistakes out there, right? He's still a little bit careless with the puck, whether in drills, in the scrimmage, he kind of coughing up right up the middle of the neutral zone to nobody. And even after the game last night, Adam Foote was saying, he's got to kind of calm down in the neutral zone because there's some plays where he just get a little bit too excited. He jumps up in the rush. He had one play in the defensive zone last night where he kind of overskated the puck. The Kraken ended up with a shot in the slot, a high danger chance. So he's not a perfect player right now, but why I think he has the chance to be special is because of the way he moves up the ice with the puck and the plays he makes with the puck in his own end as well. And again, he scores a goal last night. I think he's got a pretty good shot overall. The way he skates kind of reminds me of Nikita Zadorov, just because they're similar size. Both guys can skate fairly well, and both can make some plays with the puck, even though they might not be elite offensive producers. Of course, Mancini doesn't quite have the physicality that Nikita Zadorov has either. But man, oh man, I mean, I think coming into camp, most people probably had Tom Willander having a better chance of making this team than Victor Mancini, right? 11th overall pick, lots of hype, long drawn-out contract negotiations. But right now, Victor Mancini is the guy who looks like he has a chance not only to make this team, but after one preseason game here, again, it's only one preseason game. He looks like he has the inside track to make this team right now.
Oh, 100%. More consistent, more confident. Yeah, he makes his mistakes here and there, and he's going to have to limit that in order to, be optimal for this version of the Vancouver Canucks, right? The defense is stacked and whatnot. But all in all, just a credible talent and someone that gives me Tyler Myers vibes too, because he still does have the mistakes. But I really like the Nikita Zadorov comp, Trevor. Again, a legitimate number 5. Can you hear the phone ringing in the back? Oh, you can? Okay, my bad, listeners. Okay, so a legitimate, on a good team, number 5 defenseman. Like, maybe Nikita Zadorov's the wrong comp, but how about this one? Like, is there any way, shape, or form that down the road he is... What's that guy on Florida? You know how I'm always doing this, trying to be a champion. Nicola.
Yeah, Nico Mikkola. Yeah.
Yeah, Nico Mikkola. That's his name.
Yeah.
Why did I call him Nicola?
Anyways, it rolls off the tongue.
There you go. No, I see that. Honestly, I see that. And like, even based on some of the film that I remember from Nico Mikkola, you see him once in a while. Like, he'll jump up in the play. He'll make a play. He'll provide some offense. I feel like he scored a big goal, if not in like this playoff run for the Florida Panthers, but maybe in the last playoff run. No, I think it was this year against Carolina. I believe so. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But Mancini has so many tools in his arsenal. He does. And he's turning into like just a legitimate potential asset, a legitimate impact player. And Trevor, when you look across like championship teams, I know it's really hard to say that every team needs to have like every player, needs to have like not just a net positive, but the potential to have an impact on the game. At least Mancini has that. Now, Trevor, we keep bringing up maybe the mistakes, Adam Foote, wanting him to do less. I think Mancini, for him to be optimal in this version of the Vancouver Canucks, he needs to realize that he doesn't have to be the superhero, and it's probably in his best interest, and he'll be a way better player if he just practices being safe. Straight up. And sometimes I don't like to say that to players because you want players to be instinctual and lean into all their strengths, but just based on what this team needs from guys who might play 17 to 18 minutes, it's like, just keep it safe. Do your thing. Don't try going coast to coast. Don't try deking nobody at the blue line. Just do your thing, and he could be such a legitimate tool, impact player for the Canucks this year, and it's impressive. Trevor, do you think a guy like Tom Willander can handle this though? Because I don't know, like this guy signed his contract a bit late. Maybe he has like that cockiness about him, like he wants the big opportunity right away. Like a few months ago, there was no Mancini in the organization, and even when they got him, he's a former 5th round pick, and now it's just so evident that he's just miles away. Yeah, because based on the experience, but also based on his talent, like Mancini's like a legitimate piece to like the defensive depth chart on this organization.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I'm high on him as well, Kyle, is because some of the deficiencies on the defensive side of the puck can still be taught, right? Like this is still a fairly young guy overall. And I think he got some really great experience last year in the AHL playoffs. Again, everyone thinks of the end-to-end rushes and some of the offense he was creating for Abbotsford last year on that run. But people forget he was a top pairing defenseman in Abbotsford. He was playing with Guillaume Brisebois in the toughest matchups in the AHL playoffs. He was the first guy off the boards in the penalty kill as well. And, I see Bob Luke in the comments talk about Manny Mahodra's comments about him, about toning things down. Adam Foote's talked about it. Kevin Dean's been impressed, but, he's a long-time defensive coach who's had success in this league. There are the people in this organization in place to teach Victor Mancini how to just clean things up on the defensive side of the puck. And if he does do that, again, he's got some tools to be more than just a bottom pairing defenseman.
Ooh.
Right? 8 points in 31 games last year. Over a full 82, he's on pace for about, 22 points, but he's also doing that in limited minutes as well.
Yeah.
So you could be looking at, to me, the ceiling for him is probably a second pairing guy who can give you 30 plus points a year, be physical, be fast. And again, considering how the Canucks defense looks on paper, right now, again, Tyler Myers, 2 left in his contract. The ideal thing for this team is that someone leapfrogs him on the depth chart. It doesn't look like it's going to happen just yet, but Victor Mancini seems like the guy who's closest to doing so. So, again, interesting that Tyler Myers is a comparison for him because Victor Mancini, we don't want that chaos in his game like Tyler Myers. He still has some of that, but he's the guy who's probably closest right now to replacing Tyler Myers as the second right shot defenseman on the depth chart.
Yeah, he's noticeable, man. He's noticeable. Like you know how like you want players to like do something and not be like just there. I know like some of the best defensemen. And you need these guys on your team. Like they're really good because you don't notice them. Eventually Mancini has to get to that point. But I think as a Canucks fan, having another young player in the organization that wants to make things happen and is confident enough to make things happen. And more often than not, like, yeah, we talk about the mistakes, but let's be real. Like, more often than not, based on his, 30 games with the Canucks, a preseason game with the Canucks, what he did in Abbotsford, like, yeah, we want this guy to tone it down just a bit because we have Quinn Hughes, we have Filip, we don't need you to be Mr. Everything, but man, oh man, like, he can pull it off. Like, that's impressive. There's like a base layer of skill there, not just based on the belief and like his instinctual nature. Like, yo, he just has that skill set, and it starts with the skating, but this guy has hands. And I remember there was even this play against the Rangers last year where he just showed so much poise behind his own net when trying to start a breakout. And it's like, I didn't know this about him. I literally thought this guy was like not just a throw-in, but like a 50-50 type of guy to make the NHL. No, this guy is like a 100% legitimate young defenseman. And again, dare I say, I'm turning around when it comes to like this trade involving JT Miller. And, me and Trevor, and, Trevor more so than me, like, because he was more specific about it, kind of bringing up how the Canucks need to make sure they don't trade JT Miller while his value is so low. While they don't get pennies on the dollar for a disgruntled, emotional JT Miller. Like, prioritize him being a 100-point guy and leverage that and get the most. Well, Trevor, if I know a lot of ifs here, right? If Filip pans out to be a 50, 60-point guy, and if Mancini and DPD, MP3 Marcus Pettersson, I'm sorry, if they turn into like legitimate top 4 defensemen, dude, the Canucks won this trade. They won this trade.
Woo.
No, they won this trade
Woo.
long term because Mancini and Filipino are young. I don't know, yo, and I know you think his ceiling's like being a top 4 guy. Again, maybe Nico Mikola, whatever his name is, maybe on a different team, like he is a number 4 defenseman. But I'm assuming in Florida, like he's playing like, is he playing just as much as or maybe a little bit more than Kulikov? Like maybe like that defense core is stacked too, but he makes such a big impact, and those types of teams win championships, man. So I'm stoked, and he has the best nickname in Canucks history, man. Who else is nicknamed Valentino Martini the second, the third? Victorino Mancini. No one.
Man, oh man, I do want to know what do you think is in a Valentino Martini, man?
Vegetable juice and gin.
I was thinking pickle juice, a little bit more tang to it, right? He's got some tang to his game, and probably touches Tabasco as well, right? So there's some spice to his game as well. So pickle juice, Tabasco, and gin. That is your Valentino Martini right there. Let us know in the comments. Do you think Victor Mancini is going to be a full-time NHLer this season? And who is his ideal partner? I want to get to that on the other side. We'll also talk about some of the other risers after the first preseason game for the Canucks last night. We'll also get into reality check time for a couple of guys who might be falling down the depth chart after just one preseason game. We'll be back on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Canucks. All right, before we get back to the program, let's shout out our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's your RSP, your TFSA, or your properties. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And Kyle, podcasters like you and I, we can't afford to leave money on the table, and you probably can't either. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is here for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL.
Shout out to Monarch Money, man, doing its thing, saving lives, making lives happy. Okay, we back doing this, talking about Valentino Martini, Mancini, Victorino III. My name is Kyle Bhawan. That right there is Trevor Beggs. Hit the like button, support the show. If you're listening to this on the podcast side and you're having a good time, do us a favor and hit us up with a 5-star review. Trevor, don't worry, comments. We'll get to your comments very, very soon. But Trevor, when you did some research this morning, we talked before the episode. We're like, yo, can we like figure out if like Rangers fans, Rangers pundits were upset that Mancini was a part of the trade. Like, did you find anything with that prompt? Because I'm seeing some stuff on Reddit where people are like, he's just another guy. Then there's some people like, yo, he's my favorite player to watch when I'm watching Hartford games. It's all over the place, and maybe there's some recency bias coming out of this episode when it comes to like us viewing this guy's a legitimate top 4 piece. All in all, though, what are the fans saying about Mancini on the New York side of things?
Well, let's do it, man. I think you got a button for this, man. Let's go swimming in the ocean and check out what's being said on the interweb. All right, swimming in the ocean where we scan the World Wide Web to find things being said about hockey, and in this case, Vancouver Canuck Victor Mancini. I'll tell you what, Kyle, I haven't seen much negative said about him at all. There's not one person saying like, oh, he's just another guy. I was pretty much reading, the hope for the best, wishing the best in Vancouver, really liked him here. But a couple comments did stand out, and there was one here on Reddit. I wish we'd been able to hold on to him. I thought he had a lot of potential. Another one saying, where did it go? He looked great for the New York Rangers last year, and then they sent him down. What a stupid bullshit season. Another guy saying, this loss stinks for the Rangers. Big kid, good hands, offensive defenseman. He's a stud. This is from a Rangers fan. So again, most people are saying, they'll miss him. Again, some are obviously JT Mo's a good player, right? So there's some fans just kind of wishing him the best, but you see a couple comments there about guys saying this guy's a good player and they enjoyed watching him. Look, he's obviously got potential. He flashed that last season. I think that comment about him being sent down was an interesting one, right? Because he had 5 points in 15 games, and yeah, he was a -6, but the entire Rangers team was, dog shit defensively. That wasn't really on Mancini himself. So again, there's flaws to this guy, there's flaws in his game, but he's an exciting player. He's a young player. And if he can clean up some of those deficiencies, which I think this is the coaching staff to help him do that, then the Canucks might have found themselves a gem here.
Yeah, and to be honest, in the first segment, I kind of ignored you when you were bringing up like the inevitable and the obvious, but it's the strongest point, right? Like Adam Foote, Kevin Dean, Quinn Hughes, Marcus Pettersson, like that leadership group that is so intertwined with why our defense corps is going to be elite is going to allow guys like Tom Willander, Elias Pettersson, and Valentino Martini, Mancini III to get it, to understand it. And that's exciting. That's exciting. And just more on like acquiring Marcus Pettersson for those same reasons, right? Like having leaders down there to translate that language. And Marcus Pettersson's just such a mistake-free player, right? So he's the guy you want to like learn from. Like if they don't acquire Marcus Pettersson, is the other leader in that D-core Tyler Myers? And nothing against Tyler Myers. Like I'm sure he's a good guy, nice guy, hardest working practice player, boom, bam, does all the right things, true pro. And in essence, he's a leader, but it's so much easier for the language to be translated, like the hockey language, the important language, when the player is actually competent defensively. Like Tyler Myers, when he's getting 15 minutes a game, 17 minutes a game, yeah, he's good to go. But when he's a top 4 defenseman, like, have we ever seen this guy like strive and not make mistakes and be all that? I don't know. Like it's pretty rare. But Marcus Pettersson, if he's the leader on that team, taking the guys out, spitting game, and he's also the guy that is our closest thing to Chris Tanev since Chris Tanev, like Valentino Martini will understand that. I don't have to do everything. This defense group is stacked. Like I could do quote unquote the least and make such a impact in our transitional game, getting the puck out, making sure that the Canucks are just, again, you look at his offensive skills. I'm not going to say dominating offensively when he's on the ice, but let's use that term, net positive, right? More so than not when Mancini's on the ice. We're transitioning the puck, we're getting out of the zone, and we're staying in the offensive zone. You start, and he likes to take shots on that too. Like those are all like uber positive antidotes for the Canucks, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited because I think a lot of us we're super excited to have Willander here because I think in our mind we're like, oh, Hughes, Hronek, Marcus Pettersson, DPD, Tom Willander, and like Tyler Meyer. It's like, okay, like that's really cool. That's really sexy, actually. That's like we're stacked, and the fact that Willander's looking quote unquote like I wouldn't say shaky, but whatever. Willander's looking like he's got to get used to all this. The fact that we can lean on Mancini and not think we're just getting lucky or given like some sort of complete recency bias is a luxury, because we've seen it in the past that, again, he could help raise the floor of this club. Now, Trevor, I want to touch more on Tom Willander, though. Like, can you just give us, I don't know, what you saw at training camp over the weekend? I know we saw the game yesterday. It wasn't his best, but I don't know, like, give us the whole Tom Willander report, and please end on some positive stuff, man.
Look, I don't think Tom Willander's been bad necessarily, even in last night's game or in training camp. Like, what we knew about him coming in, the lack of puck skills have been evident, right? Like, he just hasn't been crisp with the puck on his stick, both in the preseason game last night and I'd say in training camp as well. The speed is very evident. Like, this guy's got some absolute wheels. He can fly, baby. He does some things with the puck too, where he likes to kind of open his hips, right? And kind of throw off the opposition. I think we saw that in the preseason game last night. But the reality is he hasn't stood out. He hasn't stood out compared to a guy like Pierre-Olivier Joseph or a guy like Victor Mancini or a guy like Elias Pettersson, I should say. These guys who he's kind of competing with to potentially make the NHL squad, I'd say he's underperformed all of them, including a guy like Pierre-Olivier Joseph. So look, there's nothing wrong with the fact that Tom Willander needs some AHL seasoning. I think, Kyle, you brought this up to me, I think, off the air. Elias Pettersson last year was not a training camp standout. He looked like he had a ways to go before he was going to play in the NHL. And what happened? He killed it in the AHL. He played 20 NHL games and looked freaking fantastic. Tom Willander could follow a similar path, but he's going to start the season in the AHL. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Can I throw a curveball at you? Because again, I'll put a cap on the Tom Willander talk because Trevor said everything that I want to say. I'm excited about his athleticism, and I still think he has legitimate potential to be an impact player. But like, what does this all do for a guy like Tyler Myers? Like, is this the last year of Tyler Myers as the Vancouver Canuck? Like,
well, he has no he has no movement clause for one more season here, so he's going to be here this year, and then I think I'll have to look it up. He has like a 10 or 12 team no trade list next year, something like that. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. I think he's going to have to be, clearly passed on the depth chart by Willander and Mancini. Mm-hmm. If that happens, the Canucks will trade him. But until that happens, I think he's going to be a Vancouver Canuck.
Yeah, and this is not me trying to be hateful. I'm just like projecting way ahead of the game and going into like next year when these guys take another step in their development. And like, I'm like, yo, this decor is going to be freaking sick. Like, so sick. I keep saying it, man. Like, I haven't used the word freaking in a long time. It's
a family program, man. It's a freaking family program, Kyle. Come on.
I should have said pucking, okay? Come on. That's the language you use here. True. This decor is going to be pucking sick, okay? For real. Pucking unbelievable. Okay? And I go back to the Canucks. Again, it's a long way up because the Canucks have so much to prove. They've been asked for the last 10 plus years. But if the Vancouver Canucks have this elite decor that proves to be transcendent, proves to be like, yo, there's like potential for this to be unreal, right? Unreal. And the Canucks win around and the culture's different and there's happier times in the organization. Like, again, I look at Quinn Hughes and again, I know they just won around, quote unquote. I'm looking into the future and it's not the Stanley Cup and you're not a cup contender, but Quinn Hughes is not an idiot. Like, this is the guy who scouted Kiefer Sherwood, right? And brought him here. Like, he's going to look at this and be like, yo, obviously I'm going to extend here. Maybe not for 8, but maybe for 3 or 4 years, because can it get better than this? Me, Hronek, Marcus Pettersson, DPD, Tom Willander, Valentino Martini, Mancini. Okay, sure, Tyler Myers for an extra year. Like, yo, this could be fun. And, hockey nerding out, it's going against the grain, but sometimes you got to disrupt the motion for you to stand out. And yeah, there's so many goals being scored and offense. Like, yo, can the Canucks find success? Because again, they have Quinn Hughes at the top of their D list. Like, he's generational. Like, can the Canucks find success being the New Jersey Devils of 2002, 2003? No, straight up. Like, can they, like, we don't have the wingers and maybe we don't have the number 2 center yet, but yo, Braeden, Cootes, boom, bam, Filip, who knows, right? But yo, this decor is so special. So special. In fact, again, I'm getting way ahead of myself. This is what happens when a 3rd and 5th round pick like develop and they look like top 4 talents. I'm not saying the Canucks will thrive when or if Quinn Hughes does leave ASAP, but our D-core is not going to suck.
Yeah, as long as they stay healthy, this is a sick defense. And,
Yeah.
Hughes and Hronek, man, like they look so sick in training camp, right? Like there's a lot of veterans kind of going at 50% speed. I think, the Bessers, the DeBrus, the Myers, the Canes, like none of those guys necessarily stood out because, they're veterans. They've been in this league a long time. But, oh man, Hughes and Hronek, they were just a menace in the scrimmage. They were a menace in training camp, right? Like just the small plays they make just to get the puck out of the zone. They're just incredible, man.
No, of course. And they're going to look uber special in training camp. And yeah, we talked about that, right? Quinn Hughes' his best D partner is Filip Hronek, and Hronek just like he allows Hughes to do his thing, right? All in all, though, I think the point that I was trying to make, and I think you're going to scoff at this, is like, yeah, if Quinn Hughes does leave, I just want people to know, like, okay, we're going to trade him. We're going to get big assets for him. Maybe we'll find our next number 1 defenseman in that haul. But even if we don't, I'm not going to say our defense core will be better without him. That's impossible. But we're going to be more than fine. We're going to be more than fine. Like the Canucks are, like if Quinn Hughes does leave, the Canucks are closer to having a similar D-core to what they had in 2011 when they had the most successful season ever, based on who they have down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree, man. And I want to see it come to fruition in the regular season because, again, playing a different style, I do wonder if this team's going to start giving up a bit more defensively. But on paper, this defense has a chance to be, again, top 5, top 3 in the NHL. Okay, Kyle, there's a few things we haven't gone to yet. We're up against it on time. Let's cut to break here. We'll be back to wrap up with the speed round and a couple comments to wrap up here on Locked On Canucks. Before we get to the back of the program, let's shout out our friends over at FanDuel. NFL season is here. NHL season is also here. It's the preseason, baby. And FanDuel is making sure you're ready for all of it with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Kyle, I got to bring it up, man. Your Green Bay Packers, 8.5-point favorites yesterday. They lose to the Cleveland Browns. Man, there was some value on that line there. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Going into that game, 8.5-point favorites. No, I was betting on the Browns to cover. I did not see them win in that game, though, man. What the heck happened?
Trevor, you can't win in February if you don't lose in September. That's all I'll say.
Well, I guess the Green Bay Packers, despite what their left tackle said, will not go unbeaten this season. Whatever bet you're placing, whether it's against the Packers, whether it's on your Vancouver Canucks, whether it's on track and field, FanDuel's got you covered for all of it. So if you're ready to play, go download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet today.
Boom, bam. People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. Kyle Bhawan, second best dad in the world. Trevor Beggs doing this. One love to the Don't Those Art Lab for giving you that West Coast bias on the daily, on the low, because, we take care of our neighborhood. Before we get to the comments, and there's a lot of them. I can't wait to nerd out with the comments today because good hockey conversation is happening right now. Season's around the corner. Boom, bam. I got to ask Trevor, how you doing, man? How you doing? First training camp in Penticton. Boom, bam, came back to the family. Now you're a stay-at-home dad. Like, life is, what's life, man? Make us jealous.
Yeah, man. No, training camp was a sick experience. I got to meet some guys again that you've maybe heard on the radio for years, right? Got to meet Matt Sakaris, obviously a legend in the industry. Did karaoke in front of a bunch of the Canucks media guys there. Went with When You Were Young by the Killers. I can't sing, man, but just like you're on Locked On Canucks, I try to perform, baby. And I'm not sure if there's some footage of that around, but I will try to dig it up. Because again, man, can't sing, but I got no shame.
Yeah. If there's some footage, we'd love to play that. When you were young, by the Killers is an all-time classic, probably in the top 100 songs that I've ever heard in my life. I only say that because the only 2 songs I know all the lyrics to verbatim. Again, listeners, if you're new to the show, I just started reading at 25, and I think I have this problem in my mind where I can't pick up words. It's not dyslexia, but it's something. The only two songs I know word for word, I think, are Juicy by Notorious B.I.G. and When You Were Young by The Killers.
Two legendary songs that I think are also on my top 100 songs of all time, Kyle. How are you doing, bro?
What type of question is that? I just lost to the Browns. Like, Trevor, why do you try being Brown and lose to the Cleveland Browns? Okay, you know what? Let's get to the comment. Callum Sandu asking, do you guys think that Forbert is better than DPD or Mancini? I think Forbert at his best provides a lot of impact. Actually, you proved me wrong, and he went through a tough year last year. Lost his dad, had an illness, was drinking Tim Hortons on the bench, all this stuff. Like, and again, there was a lot of doubt, and he proved me wrong. He was one of our most consistent players, to be honest, in his own way. But that being said, I think it'd be a lot better for the Canucks if DPD and Mancini were better than him this year. And then Callum Sandu also asking, was Drew O'Connor invisible last night? Trevor, I got to ask this question ASAP, man. I got to do it. Did the Canucks make a mistake picking Drew O'Connor over Dakota Joshua? Now, again, I will say Drew O'Connor yesterday on the penalty kill in the preseason game, I liked what I saw. Great skater, confident, can lug the puck out himself, boom, bam. But I feel like Dakota Joshua could do the exact same thing. And at least Dakota Joshua adds character, like he's physical, he stands up for teammates. Like he provides that type of edge. I was curious to see like what Evander and Dakota would do to a bottom six or a middle six in a playoff series. All in all, though, do you think the Canucks made a mistake there?
I'm going to say yes, because I think Dakota Joshua has the higher ceiling. Drew O'Connor might have the higher floor, though, because he is quick and he is a good penalty killer. And maybe this is a good transition into the speed round, because there's a few notes on last night I want to get into. And I think one was the fact that Drew O'Connor played on the first unit penalty kill with Teddy Bluger, looked good in that role. And again, flashed his speed and his forechecking throughout the game last night. I think his performance was bad for a guy like Archie Bains, who I thought had a great camp, had a great skimmage, whereas a guy like Drew O'Connor was invisible. And you get to the first preseason game, and Drew O'Connor to me is more noticeable than Archie Bains. And that really is who Archie Bains would be competing with for a spot on the fourth line there.
You think so? You think so? You think like Drew O'Connor's job's not like 100% safe?
I think it's probably 100% safe because of the contract. But look, if we're just truly going on performance, like Drew O'Connor's not getting sent to the AHL or anything, but could R.C. Bains beat him out for a spot in the opening night lineup? I think it's possible. I don't think it's probable, though, especially after what we saw last night. A couple other kind of risers and fallers after last night I want to get into. First, the question about Forbert versus DPD or Mancini. I think DPD and Mancini might be better than Forbert, especially after camp, but Forbert's a better penalty killer. So I think that's what's going to keep Forbert in the lineup above all else. In terms of the risers last night, I think Nikita Polopilo was excellent last night. Made a couple of crazy good saves. I think the Canucks probably win that game, to be honest, if Polopilo stays in net. Even though the Canucks had far less skill and experience in the lineup than the Kraken. I mentioned Bains as a faller. I think Lekkerimäki was also a faller last night. I know he was on the ice for the puck skills and the plays he can make in tight, but he just has too many turnovers. I think he's a guy that's kind of destined for the AHL right now. If you're hoping for Lekkerimäki to make the team, I wouldn't be so high on that. So I'd say Lekkerimäki and Bains were followers for me, and O'Connor, Tolopilo, and of course Mancini were risers. And the last but not least, Braeden Cootes. Look, Braeden Cootes isn't going to make this team. I don't think it makes sense for Braeden Cootes to make this team out of camp here, but he's looked good. He looked good again last night. He sets up Mancini for a goal there. He's a smart player, right? Like, he's smaller, he gets pushed around a little bit. I mean, he is barely 18 years old. But again, another solid performance for Braeden Cootes, so that's worth highlighting too.
Do you think it doesn't make sense for him to make the club a? But like, is there no point of burning the first year off as ELC? It's like better in the long run for him to develop, and that way we get an extra year of him making less than $1 million when down the road that could be like a lot of value.
That's certainly part of it. He was far and away one of the best four centers on this team. At the end of preseason, it makes sense for him to make this team, right? The cap going up the way it is, I don't think you worry about that as much. But he's really got to be like heads above Teddy Bluger and Aatu Ratu. And while I think he's maybe been better than Ratu. He hasn't been better to a degree where it's like, let's keep Ratu in the press box or in the minors and let's have Cootes play. Like, he's been great and it's an amazing story, but don't be force feeding this guy into the NHL just because he's looked that good in preseason and camp. He's really got to earn it, and I just don't think he's quite there in terms of, he's a surefire, like, let's give him a 9-game addition kind of guy.
I hear you. And this is looking better than Ratu early on in training camp, or maybe even throughout the preseason. I wonder, and maybe again, we're going to put Trevor on blast here. Like, you go do it, put the work in, talk, and Ratu, for him to just be forced the minutes and get himself in game shape, or get himself into finding his groove after having a little bit of an injury this offseason. Anyways, next comment. Where is the one from Matt Folger? Okay, Matt Folger is saying, Hughes will be more likely to stay if we don't mortgage the future just to impress him for 1 year. You are 100% without a doubt bang on. Again, Quinn Hughes is a hockey nerd. He's not an idiot. Like, this guy lives and breathes the game. You don't want to mortgage the future. You don't want to. The team needs to come together and do more on the ice first for Quinn Hughes to believe that they need to go out and trade the most for a second line center. I know that sounds crazy. But I think that in the long run, again, we just talked to lean into your strengths. Like, don't give it up. You know what I'm saying? Don't give it up. You got those decoy. Like, let's not trade any of those guys for maybe second line center. When we have Braeden Cootes assistant, like, maybe he can be that guy. Filip, let's give him some time. I think Quinn Hughes knows that's the smart way to build a contender. And Trevor, I wanna talk about this. Like, do you think Quinn Hughes is so desperate to find a second line center on this team that he plays for, when it's like, I know in theory we're trying to replace JT Miller, who's a quote-unquote first-line center, but it's like, we're trying to replace a second-line center. Can we, calm down? It's not like the premium position. We want him to be like the next JT Miller, who we find. Like, we want that much impact coming out of our 2C, but, relax. You know what I'm saying? It's not mission impossible.
No, exactly, right? The Canucks have time on their side with this kid, right? There's no need to rush things here. Again, let's just keep banging on Filip being that guy for the Canucks, because hey, he's definitely.
Audio's popped up. I almost swore there, so maybe it's a good time to get out of here, Trevor. Sign us out.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Again, one love to you and you for tuning in. And if you like what we're doing, go like and subscribe on the podcast side. Go follow us. Leave a 5-star review. I'm back to the full-time grind tomorrow. Maybe I'll even be in the rink. Who knows? But we got you covered here for preseason and everything else involving your Vancouver Canucks here at Locked On.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks Network. Your team every day.